Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Programming the Purpose. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can give access of your apps to Spotlight and app shortcuts. It is going to be a stepping stone to enable Siri access and Apple Intelligence for your apps. I have a recipe app in which I'm going to show you details of the recipe using Spotlight search and shortcuts. I'll be using frameworks like AppIntents and Core Spotlight to serve this purpose. So let's get started with the code. So this is the code that I'm going to use as my base code. I have added the link of this code inside the description box. Please check out the code from there. You can download and then start adding the different sections of code inside these files. So these are some of the files that I'm going to show you so that we are on the same page when we start writing the code. So I have copied some of the files from my recipe book app that I have created to show you the usage of Swift data 1 year ago. So I have copied that code inside my new project in swiftui. So this is the output of the app. If there are any issues, fix those. And once you are able to run that code, you are going to see this output. You can follow all of these steps. There is a very small error that is going to occur due to a bug inside the Xcode16 beta. So this is the first file that I am adding to this project after using the previous code. So you are going to copy here the recipes. These values are also present inside the code that I've mentioned in the description box. You can copy the sample data from there. It is in some other file. You can check out and search from that project. So now I have played the code with a small change to fetch the data from my class data, and you are going to see that the output is going to look like this. Now I will start extending my class recipe with app entity. So let's import the relevant framework, which is AppIntents. So after that, there are going to occur some errors. I have fixed them and it has asked me to add some of the properties to my app entity. So I'm going to add the values to all of these properties. For default query, I'm going to write another struct that I'm going to show you in a while. And then I'm going to fix the error on line number 21. Because default query is a type. So let's add it here. So next, I'm going to create the struct with the name of recipe query, which is going to extend our entity query. And there are certain functions that are necessary for our recipe query to conform to entity query. I'm going to write the definition of these functions here. So the first one is basically for a specific picking of a result, which means that a certain entity is selected. We are going to get its ID, and then we are going to find that ID inside the data that we have locally, or we can fetch the data from server. So this try await is going to asynchronously fetch the data from server in case you want to get data from there. My data is available locally, but still I have used try await here. So this is the code that is going to help us to return the data for a identifier that corresponds to the entry that we have selected inside Spotlight. And suggested entries is going to basically give you all of the entities that are present inside your data. If you have a huge data, you can fetch some of the top results or your favorites. So here I'll be adding there on line number 21. So after that, we are going to extend our recipe to a indexed entity, which is going to help us to index the different values and properties of our recipe inside our search results. This is the feature that is introduced inside the WWDC24 for AppIntents. So there is an error with UUID, so we cannot make it an optional, so I have removed that. So next I'm going to show you how we can use ch searchable index to index all of the data inside my Spotlight search. This is also a new feature that is added in WWDC24. add the framework of course spotlight here, which is going to remove the error for ch searchable index. So after that, I need to edit the definitions of my recipe query so that all the errors are fixed. So when I'm going to run the code, I'm going to show you in the search bar in Spotlight that when I'm writing any word from the recipe name, the recipes are appearing. And when I click them, I go to the normal page of my app where all of the recipes are listed. Now I want to change the code so that whenever I click the name of a certain recipe, the recipe details page of that recipe appears on the screen. So first I'm going to create a navigation model. So basically it has two variables. One is going to show us that we want to open another view on the top, our current view. And next is basically a recipe name that we want to open. If both of these values are populated inside the class, we are going to show the recipe detail view of that recipe name. And after that, I have created an instance so that we have a singleton here and it is not overwritten by any other function or class. So here I'm creating an environment variable in which I'm going to get the navigation model object. So I'll be passing all of these values from my content view. But first, let's edit the content view in which I'm going to write an if else so that if we are going to open the detail page, we are going to show a different view. Otherwise, we are going to show the default view in which all of the recipes are listed. So I'm adding the code here. Follow all of these steps with me. So on line number 106, I am finding the recipe with the same name from my data so that I'll be able to display that inside my recipe details view. So here I'm making some of the changes to my Explore Apple Intelligence app, which is my main entry point into this app. So I've created an instance of navigation model, and next I'm going to write the init method in which I am going to basically add the dependencies as well as pass the navigation model to my scene navigation model object. Also, I'm going to configure here the shortcuts once we have written the AppIntents code. I'm passing here my environment variable as well as I'm calling the function on continue user activity, which is going to be called when we are coming from a spotlight search after clicking a search item. So we are going to handle it inside a function that I'm going to write next, in which I'm going to populate the navigation model instance, which is going to help us to update the content view according to the updated values inside the model once we click a searched item inside Spotlight. So follow all of these steps and let's see how it works. So when we were running the code, the app got crashed. This is due to the reason that we haven't added the environment variable and the function call inside the other content view. So I have also added the values there. So this is the view. I have played the app so that our data gets populated and our search is going to be indexed. So the view is still the same. So I'm going to add some of the code here, and I'm going to edit some of the code inside my content view. So I'm moving the if statement that I've presented outside the navigation view so that the view is created independently of my navigation view. This is just basically a UI effect. Next, I'm going to show you that how we are going to debug the code. So when I've clicked there, if my app is in the foreground, it's not clicked, but it's still live, then I can basically debug the code by applying a simple breakpoint. And as you can see here on the bottom, the ID that is passed to handle Spotlight has a recipe slash in addition to the ID. So I have changed a little bit of code on line number 47 to handle that. So UUID is getting updated each of the time I run the app, and Spotlight does has tail results. The results that we have got from the previous searches of the app name. So for that, I have changed the ID inside my recipe and I passed a static IP here. It is pretty much a very natural approach because when we are saving the ID inside user defaults locally or on the server, it is going to be a fixed value for each of the recipe. But for development purposes, you can use any of the value. UUID is causing a problem, so I have passed here an integer value in the form of a string. So now there is going to be a small glitch that I'm going to show you here. So focus on this part of the code a bit. So here I am printing the ID that is passed to this handle Spotlight search code, which is recipe slash a UUID. But when I'm iterating over the recipes of my recipes that are stored in my data, they are going to contain a singular value. But since this ID has a 1 or 2 or 3 integer in it, this recipe is going to be returned. So I'm trying different values, and you are going to see here that one of the values is going to give us the accurate result, which means that the ID is being matched here. So you can ignore the stale results. Even uninstalling the app is not going to remove the stale results. So this is just for the testing purposes. In real life example, this is not going to occur. Next, I'm going to write an intent that is going to help us to create shortcuts inside the shortcuts app that is going to help us to basically access the different features of our app easily through shortcuts. And also it is going to help us to basically control our app using voice with Siri Kit, which I'm going to show you in my next videos if it's supported by Xcode16 beta. I need to explore that. So here I'm setting the different properties that are necessary if our struct is conforms to app intent. So these are some of the string resources that you need to add, which are going to be displayed when I'm going to show you the shortcuts that I'm going to create. I'm going to show you these strings there as well. Parameter is the value that you want to pass to the shortcut when you are playing a shortcut. So I'm actually passing here a recipe. Now its main perform function is going to be a main actor because we want it to run on the main thread. And next we are going to pass here a dependency of navigation model. Just like handle spotlight function, I'm going to populate here the navigation model with the appropriate values, and that values will be passed by the ID that is basically passed here inside the parameter, and we are going to iterate over the data and get the recipe that corresponds to that ID. So this is going to help us to open a specific recipe. There is going to be 2 test runs of this shortcut in 2 different forms. I'm going to show you here after writing the complete code. So here I'll be creating a recipe shortcut with certain values that are customizable, like the color of the shortcut and some other title and parameter strings that we want to add. So create a shortcut just like this. So I'm passing here a system image name, which is an SF symbol, a short title, and a phrase, which is going to help us to open this app using our voice. I'm going to show you this feature in my next video, hopefully. So this is the recipe shortcuts that I'm going to call in my init method inside my main. So this is the code that I've told you that I'm going to add here. It is going to be initialized when our app is going to run. So it is going to update all of the shortcut parameters and all of the updates that we have provided to shortcuts in the shortcuts that we have created previously. So next I'm going to run the app so that our code gets a chance to run. And after that, I'm going to go to the shortcuts app and create the shortcuts for this app. So press the plus button and search action, or you can simply go to the name of your app. These are the strings that I have shown you previously, how they are going to appear. Here you can choose a certain recipe. It is always going to click that recipe and open it whenever we are going to use this shortcut. So here I'm going to create a generic shortcut which is going to help us to open any recipe. So when I'm going to click it, it is going to present me with some of the options, and I can simply open by clicking those options. So this is how shortcuts are going to work. This is all for this tutorial. I hope you'll be able to better understand and grasp the concepts of app entities, app intents, core spotlight, and how we can use it inside our apps. More interesting and helpful videos are coming up in this series. Do not forget to like and share this video, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.